When I was a child, my mother was my everything. My father abandoned us when I was 7 after my mother discovered his affair. He beat her when she filed for divorce, but she kept the house and erased him from our lives. Mom focused on herself and helping other women, working at various women's crisis centers and shelters. Eventually, she became a social worker, helping women and children affected by violence. She knew firsthand how cruel the world could be to women. Because of her, I grew up cautious and aware of the dangers. She devised safety codes for me and created a rule that, if I were ever in danger, I could text or call her in a special way, and she would come to my rescue without questioning or consequences. I could reach out to her without fear of punishment. She understood that being a teenager meant making mistakes, but my safety always came first. When I was 11, I spent the night at a friend's house, but I felt uncomfortable. I wanted to leave, but didn't want to hurt her feelings. Our code was a double punctuation mark at the end of a sentence. If I used 2 identical marks, it meant I needed help or wanted to leave without anyone around knowing. One night, I used this code when I was out, feeling unwell and unsafe. My mom picked me up right away, never scolding me for my actions, just making sure I was okay. She always prioritized my well-being. I lived in a quiet, small town, and I always felt secure, even though I hung out mostly with kids from crisis centers. They were quiet, reserved, and much older in their experiences. I was cautious and rarely made mistakes, unlike other teenagers. When I entered college at 16, everything seemed calm and safe. Then came my first party in the dorms. It was overwhelming to see so many drunk people acting out of control. I found a quiet spot, met a charming guy, and he offered to get me a drink. I, naive and trusting, accepted. 10 minutes later, I felt strange and I headed to the bathroom. I texted my mom, using our code. Me. I'm at address. Can I stay a little longer? Mom. No way, I'm coming to pick you up right now. I managed to text her in time. My mom knew something was wrong, and within moments she was there, preventing what could have been a terrible situation. I later found out the guy had tried to take advantage of me, but failed because of her quick thinking. That night, she took me to the hospital, where they treated me to flush out the drug from my system. I didn't fully realize how dangerous the situation was until later. But she did, and she saved me. After that incident, I was always careful, and my mom had a serious conversation with me about the dangers women face. I learned to be even more vigilant. A month ago, my mom died of a heart attack. She had always had heart problems and had been saving for a pacemaker, but it took time. I was devastated. I had always thought she would be there for me, my foundation. She had always been my rock, and I couldn't imagine life without her. I cried when I saw she was gone. It felt impossible to move on without her. After the funeral, I sat in her living room and picked up her phone, which had been left on the table. I couldn't bring myself to throw it away, though I wanted to. She loved that phone. It was full of pictures, music, and games. It felt wrong to let go of it. Then I had an idea. The funeral director had mentioned that we could bury items with her that were important to her, and I thought about her phone. I could copy all the pictures and data from it to my computer, but I wanted her phone to go with her. She always joked she'd come back as a ghost to play her games and watch videos, so why not give her something she loved? I copied everything from her phone and placed it in her casket with her. It felt comforting, like a final connection. I knew it wasn't practical or logical, but it gave me peace. The funeral was beautiful but sad. Women came and shared how much my mom had impacted their lives. Despite my grief, I couldn't help but feel proud of her, knowing she had touched so many lives. After the service, I went home and, for the first time, turned on the TV in her living room. A message alert popped up on her phone. It was from her. Mom, I love you too. I stared at the screen. The message was sent right after her death, and I was sure it wasn't a prank. I thought it could have been one of her friends using her phone, but when I checked the message, I saw something even more unsettling. Me. Please don't message me from this number. It's my mom's phone, and she just passed away. I waited. Then I saw the message bubble appear. Mom, I'm at address. Can you come visit me? My heart stopped. The address was the cemetery where she had been buried. The 2 question marks were our code for danger. I was suddenly terrified. I called the funeral director, begging him to meet me at the cemetery. He assured me that she couldn't possibly be alive, but I showed him the messages. Reluctantly, he agreed to meet me. When we arrived at the cemetery, I demanded they exhume her grave. He was skeptical but agreed. The ground was still soft, so it was easy to dig up. When they opened the casket, there she was, holding her phone in her hand. There was an unread message on the screen. Mom, under me. The authorities launched an investigation. The cemetery groundskeeper was arrested. It turned out that he had been abducting young girls for years, burying them alive in unfilled graves and covering up his crimes. The chilling photos they found showed my niece, who was only 13 at the time, among the other victims. I knew what people would ask me, but I didn't care. They'd all assumed I had noticed something odd before the casket was sealed. But the truth was much darker. After the exhumation, the police discovered photos and a map showing the graves, and everything pointed to the horror my mom had unknowingly been a part of. In the days that followed, I tried to grieve, but it was hard with all the attention. Everyone kept calling me a hero, but I knew the truth. My mom had saved me once, and in the end, she had saved so many more, even from beyond the grave. A week later, when everything had settled, I sat alone in her living room again. I turned on one of her favorite horror films, hoping it would bring me some comfort. I reached for my phone and sent her one last message. Me. Mom, I love you. I miss you so much. I hope you're happy where you are now. I set the phone down, wiping the tears from my face, when suddenly her ringtone played. My heart skipped a beat as I saw the screen light up,